Good day there once again, viewers. This is your mate Kamikaze78 here, coming to you guys with some more Modern Warfare content. So, a couple of days guys, Infinity Ward dropped the first major patch for Modern Warfare in response to a shit ton of user feedback in regards to its multiplayer mode, and there's a lot of stuff here that I believe Infinity Ward have hit the nail on the head with, and some stuff that they have good intentions with, but still have a few steps to go. And yes, I am aware that I'm a little bit behind in regards to covering this patch, but a lot of things are being worked on behind the scenes for the channel right now, so you guys will see that come to fruition shortly. But we've got a lot to cover in this video today, so let's just get straight on into it. Now, probably the biggest thing to have come from this particular patch has been the addition of two brand new maps, one for Ground War and one for 6v6 game modes. Shoot House is our new 6v6 map that runs on a very traditional 3-lane layout, and my god, this is a tiny map that generates some of the most chaotic scenes to have ever been experienced in this game yet. It is claustrophobic, it's fast-paced, and it is totally chaotic. Plenty of flanking routes, long lanes to hold, and plenty of cover to hide behind that makes this map probably the most quote-unquote traditional Call of Duty experience in the game yet. And I'm not gonna lie, I am thoroughly enjoying it. Anyone who has been longing for a fast-paced experience that sort of resembles that of the older Call of Duty maps, this is going to be one for you. I've got to say that I've had a lot of fun on the map despite the endless shotgun spam that the map accommodates for, with Domination, Headquarters, and even Hardpoint flowing incredibly well on the map. I've had some incredibly close games there, and if this is the future of this game's map design, well, sign me up for more, straight off the gate. Next up, Krovnik Farmland is the new Ground War map to have been added to the game, and much like Shoot House, this map has quickly found itself to become one of my favourites in the game, and definitely my favourite for the Ground War game mode. It plays well with a great amount of cover between points and a lot of buildings around the capture points that really makes for some awesome gunfights over these points. There are also wide open fields for snipers to duke it out in and cover advancing troops from, but most importantly, there's no fucking hell for APCs to sit up on top of and shell the shit out of the map from, and there's no absurdly tall buildings that give snipers an edge over basically the entire map. The map, in my opinion, is certainly the best for its respective game mode, and it even gave me some Battlefield Bad Company vibes for a bit. It looks really similar to Harvest Day, in my opinion, but yeah, great map that I look forward to playing a lot more of. Now, you guys may have picked up on this when I mentioned it earlier, but Hardpoint was also introduced to the game, and I've always loved the chaos that this game mode brings. However, the first round that I did play was on the map Arklov Peak, which, as we all know, is a big old 10v10 map, and Hardpoint appears to only play in 6v6, which made it to be a very quiet and rather empty feeling match that moved relatively slowly, and I think that kind of is contradictory to what the mode is attempting to accomplish. So if Hardpoint is to exist, I'd like for it to stick to smaller maps, so developers, if you happen to be watching this, please take note. Regardless, I have loved the game mode, and I'm keen to see what else the devs have got in the pipeline for game modes. We've seen Cyber Attack be a new game mode in this game, and if they're willing to sort of, continue to evolve the game modes that we know and love into new, exciting game modes like Cyber Attack, I'm all down for it. Now, the next big one we need to talk about is good old weapon balance, and balance in general, because this has been the focal point of this patch, all things considered, and it's been the focal point of a lot of community feedback as of late. The new maps and game modes are nice, but the balance has been what everyone has been crying out for, and rightfully so. Firstly, let's address the big old elephant in the room in the form of the fucking 725. Why this weapon was introduced in the way it was? Nah fam, that shit just ain't right. But, as I always say, better late than never, because this patch promised some much needed nerfs to that godforsaken shotgun, that being in the form of the ADS and hipfire spread, alongside a reduced damage range, which on paper sounds incredible, but in game, I gotta say the weapon can still be a little too brutal, especially when it's modded for range and such. It can reach out to an absurd length, and still really ruin people on the wrong side of it. But in saying that, I have seen the R90 shoddy slowly make its way into more games and slowly making more of an impression on the weapon ecosystem, if you will. So the gun may have been nerfed to the point where it hasn't been quote-unquote destroyed, if you will, but other weapons now seem more viable, if you will. I still think the weapon could use a bit more of a nerf in the range perspective, but that's just me. I still feel as though a shotgun shouldn't be able to two-shot me from, you know, halfway down a hallway, if you will, but hey, we'll see how it goes. On the topic of weapons becoming a bit more viable in their respective categories, the assault rifle category was shaken up quite a bit with a little nerf to the game's workhorse, the M4A1. It received a damage range reduction and a slight recoil increase overall. Has this had a major impact on the gun overall? In the range aspect, I feel as though it is slightly weaker, but you know, if I throw a Corvus barrel on there, a monolithic suppressor on there, and just really kit the fucker out for range, the damage range is still ridiculous. And I think that the M4A1 is still a bit too much of a workhorse in the long range department. With that, I will say that the slight increase to recoil that the weapon has seen does mean that if you want to get it down to its previous accuracy, you really need to kit it out for range, which means adding a lot of weight to the weapon, which can in turn hurt your aiming down sight speed, and that makes the weapon weaker at a, you know, closer quarters distance. So I feel as though if you really want to get the most accurate M4 you can, you do need to sacrifice a lot in the close quarters department, so that is a welcome change to see. I have been seeing more assault rifles like the Kilo, the M13, the AK, and the Scar take a more prevalent stand in more games that I've played, so that's been nice to see. The Uzi also got a buff, and I already thought that the weapon was a hidden gem in the game, so to see that it got a buff to damage range is ridiculous. And I will say, the new Uzi with the new patch has been filthy fun to use. Seriously, if you do not have an Uzi yet that you've ranked up considerably, get on that shit. It's a grand old time. Footsteps have been considerably quietened down as well. It's nice to know that not everyone has superhero level hearing. Like, you know, I can only hear someone across the room for me and I'm not hearing them, you know, from across the friggin' map, which was more often than not. So the changes to Footsteps I've found to be a bit more fairer, and, you know, it's placed a bit more of an emphasis on actually, you know, having proper map intel like UAVs and the potential drones as well. Now, the dreaded callout system has also been changed quite a bit as well. As we all know, the worst part about Call of Duty, I think, and especially playing a very stealthy role, even by having dead silence and a suppressor on your gun, you'd walk up behind someone and you'd dipshit if a character would yell out, "Contact!" as though there were other friendlies nearby that had to know that you were staring at the back of an enemy's head. Thankfully now, callouts have been changed so that only your teammates can hear when you make a callout. So enemies can no longer hear when you call out reloading or when you call out contact. I think this is an awesome change, and it kind of makes playing a stealthy role with suppressor and dead silence a little bit more viable. Like beforehand, I figured it just wasn't really all that worth it, because at the end of the day, your dumbass character is still going to shout at the top of his lungs every time he sees the smallest pixel of an enemy. That has certainly changed now, so that's very welcome to see. I think that was a much needed adjustment on the team's end. Overall, there's also been changes to EOD and to Claymores, and overall just a lot of balance passes that I'm going to leave linked in the description down below so that you guys can read the full patch notes at your own discretion. And guys, that sort of wraps up today's video, highlighting the changes that have happened in the most recent patch, what's been good, what's been bad, and where I think things could use a bit more of a touch-up. I still think the 725 could use some work. I think the R90 could use some work now, and also think the M4 could maybe use just a slightest damage reduction once again at range, but at the same time, I'm just one man with his opinion on the internet shouting very loudly, so what do I know? Guys, if you enjoyed today's video, a backhand of that like button would be greatly appreciated. I am in the process of trying to find some detailed statistics for the weapons in this game to do some proper weapon reviews, and I'm also looking at potentially doing some map guides as well. If you guys enjoyed today's video, a backhand of that like button would be greatly appreciated, and feel free to share this with your friends. It would really help me out, guys. If you're new here, and once again found yourself enjoying the video, feel free to backhand that subscribe button and the notification bell whilst you're at it to keep up to date with the content in which I'm releasing here on my channel. I also stream approximately 3 times a week. Link to that is in the description down below, along with all my other social medias. Once again, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. Peace out, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Take care, guys. Have a good one.